Greetings and welcome to part 3 of the 3-part series regarding the unique Jain understanding of reality known in Sanskrit as anekantvād, in English, non-one-sided reality. When organizing this topic, the intention was to complete the information in 3 parts. However, the details in part 3 became too much for a single video. Thus, part 3 is divided into 2 sections, 3A and 3B. 3A expands on these 2 topics, and 3B responds to the 4 queries presented in part 1. With the first 2 videos, the focus was on presenting Jain knowledge. Part 1, the logical reasoning explaining this Jaina view that the nature of reality is threefold. And part 2, how to make statements in the threefold relativistic reality, stated in English as sevenfold predication of reality. With this part 3 video, Knowledge is Power, the knowledge outlined in parts 1 and 2 will be applied to show how it occurs in our lives and relevant to our well-being, particularly the well-being of our soul. Anekantvād insight changes destiny. There is a Jain adage, change your consciousness, change your destiny. Knowledge changes consciousness that when acted upon changes one's destiny. Thus, knowledge is power means knowledge has the power to change our consciousness and thereby change our destiny. In part 1, Jain Anekantvād explained that reality, at its most basic ontological level, is threefold, meaning reality consists of 2 opposing occurrences, one example of which is permanence-and-change, plus the necessary relationship between the 2 recognized as permanence and change. Supplemental definition. Trynamic. I am using an invented term, trynamic, to express the threefold interrelationship. It was stated that for something to exist, including reality itself, it must have this threefold nature: permanence, change, permanence-and-change. So, if Jain Anekantvād is true, and as reality is the environment in which we live, we will be able to detect the occurrence of this threefold trynamic. Examples of such detection will be shown later in this video. Having this threefold knowledge and understanding increases our awareness of reality. Increase means change, and awareness means consciousness. Change your consciousness, change your destiny. Supplemental definition. Explanatory power. There is the personal benefit of Anekantvād knowledge. Anekantvād knowledge provides explanatory power. Explanatory power. The ability of a hypothesis or theory to effectively explain the subject matter to which it pertains. Various criteria or measures for explanatory power have been proposed. In particular, one hypothesis, theory, or explanation can be said to have more explanatory power than another about the same subject matter if more facts or observations are accounted for, if more details of causal relations are provided, leading to a high accuracy and precision of the description, if it offers greater predictive power, that is, offers more details about what we should expect to see and what we should not. In this video, a conversation between Lord Mahavira and Gautam, his chief disciple, provided a key insight to the procedure for the well-being of soul. Gautam asked Lord Mahavira, "What is the nature of soul?" And Lord Mahavira answered, "The nature of soul is equanimity." Gautam again asked, "What is the ultimate end of soul?" And Lord Mahavira replied, "The ultimate end of soul is also equanimity." Jain Anekantavad knowledge explains why things happen, which, while we are immersed in the ever-changing environment, enables us to attain equanimity, the ultimate end of soul. There are two important insights for understanding the change of consciousness: supplemental, moha, and transmutation. Moha is a Sanskrit term meaning delusion. It refers to the concept of ignorance that prevents the understanding of truth. Moha is described as infatuation that clouds the mind. Generally speaking, the delusion or ignorance to which moha refers is a lack of understanding of the true nature of the self and of reality as it truly exists. Transmute, to change or alter in form, appearance, or nature, and especially to a higher form. Transmutation, an act or instance of transmuting or being transmuted. Jainism recognizes transmutation as a mysterious, inexpressible process by which knowledge changes into knowing. The process has been equated to the lifting of a veil from our consciousness. Jainism explains the veil as moha, caused by the effect of matter particles on the soul's consciousness, which restrict, obscure, and delude the soul's ability to know its true nature and the true nature of reality. Reducing by shedding the particles lifts the veil of moha. Through Jain knowledge of reality, a veil is lifted from our deluded consciousness, thereby transmuting knowledge into knowing. We further verify the knowledge with our personal experience and continue to transmute it into the personal power of knowing. Knowing that a fundamental characteristic of reality is change increases our awareness of the ever-changing environment that surrounds us. More personally, change in fact is us. The cells and organs which make up our bodies are constantly changing, and our consciousness changes as we learn to function and to exist in our environment. Polar pairs. The occurrence of the two opposing elements has been evident since the early philosophers. Recall the insight of Heraclitus in Part 1. In present day, the occurrence of the dynamic has metaphorically and poetically been expressed as polar pairs. Polar north with its opposite, polar south. How is it that this twofold insight has persisted throughout all of this time? The explanation is found at the most basic ontological level of reality. What is common throughout is what underlies all things that exist. energy. Although invisible, the mysterious phenomenon known as energy has been pictured as a wave. With this insight, reality becomes intriguing and mystifying and often inexpressible. For example, the globe circle becomes an energy wave with the addition of time or duration. Logically, for something to exist, it must have that mysterious, sustaining power known as energy. Whether this phenomenon is expressed as unity of opposites, as did Heraclitus, or polar pairs, as expressed in present day, both are essentially the expression of the opposing extremities of energy, which sustains the particular occurrence. North Pole with its opposite South Pole. But what is this part in the middle? It is the third element that Jain Anekantavad recognizes as an independent yet related phenomenon. It is not absolute north nor absolute south. It has aspects of both and aspects of neither, depending on the degree of manifestation. Degree of manifestation is understood as the strength and extent that something is present. For example, the increased degree of manifestation of north results in lessening the degree of manifestation of the south, and vice versa. But also, the more the movement is toward the middle, the more there is a balance of manifestation of the two poles, a balance explaining the occurrence of equanimity, revealing and realizing our non-one-sided existence. Revealing. From the point of view of our personal well-being, the knowledge that reality is change increases our awareness of the ever-changing environment, which helps us to realize that the continued stability and peacefulness that we desire is not to be found in such an environment. However, from Part 2, we know that this statement is a conditional assertion. The statement needs to be qualified for it to be a more accurate assertion. Applying the insight of conditional assertion from Part 2, yes, the statement is accurate from the standpoint of the ever-changing material environment. But no, it is not accurate, because from a so-called religious standpoint, stability and peacefulness can be found in the environment, as that is where the Jain scriptures are established, which reveal the nature of the soul as having the characteristics of continued stability and peacefulness, plus the means by which these characteristics can be attained. In unphilosophical minds, any rare or unexpected thing excites wonder, while in philosophical minds, the familiar excites wonder also. The trynamic occurrence underlies everyday familiar experiences. Keeping in mind the threefold nature of reality, Part 1, and shadvad, meaning the need to condition or qualify an assertion, Part 2, some familiar examples are, from a particular standpoint, white, black, gray, hot, cold, warm, everything, nothing, something, certainty, uncertainty, ambivalence, past, future, present, creation, destruction, preservation, heaven, hell, middle world. The insight of the polar pair's trynamic increases our understanding as well as generating intriguing questions. It helps us to understand why we often have an interrelationship experience and not an absolute experience. For example, when absolute yes or no is not certain, we have the uncertain experience of maybe, which validates that many of these trynamics are avaktavya, are inexpressible. Realizing. The trynamic explains the language used in politics. For example, liberals and conservatives. People with liberal views are referred to as being on the left, and people with conservative views are referred to as being on the right. With the midpoint as the reference, people are referred to as being left or right of center. More challenging to our understanding and certainty are intriguing polar pairs such as free will and destiny, also known as fate and known in philosophy as determinism. The challenge: how do we know whether a person's action is due to their free will or whether the person's destiny, that they created by a past action, determined and demanded the action occur? More personally, how can we determine whether a so-called mistake that we have made is due to our free will, or was the mistake destined to happen as we were simply acting out what destiny demanded would happen, which would then not be a mistake? Jainism presents a unique and important polar pair. In English, the two are agent and instrument. Jainism recognizes that the soul is independent and the doer of its actions. The agent, instrument, is all the things and events that are involved in facilitating an action. One example: you are the agent of your birth. Your parents are the instrument in facilitating your birth. You are the agent of your destiny. Your parents play an instrumental role in your destiny occurring. It is an inexpressible paradox. Each individual is independent while at the same time dependent on external factors for what occurs during one's existence. Here is an intriguing question for your reflection. Does the occurrence of the polar pairs beneficial, adverse, help validate the insightful adage by Napoleon Hill, who counseled, "Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of equivalent or greater benefit." Although considered negative, adversity can have the opposite positive effect of being a motivator in changing one's consciousness when searching for resolutions to overcome the adversity. Then there is the polar pair occurrence of context and content. Context can be explained as the big picture, while content means the elements that make up the picture. The context is the completed jigsaw puzzle. The content is the pieces that make up the whole puzzle. In the environment which surrounds us, we see movement, but do we realize it is due to change? In other words, we see the content of the movement, but do we see the context as change. Change occurs at both the micro level and the macro level. From the standpoint of the micro level, change is occurring within the 6 elements that constitute the universe. From the standpoint of the macro level, change is occurring for the inner areas of the universe itself: heaven region, middle region, and hell region. Although, from another standpoint, the areas are permanent, as they eternally retain their shape and function. Also, at the macro level, there is a Jain understanding of ascending and descending time cycles. We are presently here on the descending cycle. Although our super complex reality often leaves us with uncertainty, we have the calming assurance from the understanding of Avaktavya, stated in Jain Saptabhanginaya, the sevenfold predication of reality, that in a certain sense there will always be an aspect of reality that is inexpressible. And on it goes. That's it for now. Take time to reflect and meditate on the knowledge presented. Experience the lifting of the veil of moha delusion, thereby transmuting and changing your consciousness and destiny. Part 1 indicated 4 reasons to understand non-one-sided reality, which will be outlined in video 3b. Namaste. I bow to your eternal, everlasting energy with consciousness soul, the real you.